All right, new week, new episode. This week on Chapters Over Coffee, we're discussing chapters 6 through 10. I just want to point out that I have seen where people don't like Kingfisher's character, but so far I love his character. I love the
Um,
assholeness to him.
yeah, I haven't picked up on the whole like DNF vibe, or the ick or whatever got people. We are pretty early into this adventure, so I'm sure it's right around the
I
corner.
I think the
So
ick
I'm
is the dirty, dirty
anxious to
stuff.
get there.
I think it's the dirty, dirty stuff. That is the ick. I think I've seen stuff on that.
I guess we'll
I don't
find
know.
out.
Then we're introduced to Everlane, and I don't know. There's just something about her that I don't like about her. I don't know what it is. I
Oh,
truly don't know
but
what it is.
she made that comment that even friends, even people who seem like your friends, could stab you in the back. Um,
And she did make that
which
point that she's like, so she warning me of herself.
yes.
I but
Yep.
I she's too whiny in these chapters. She's whiny.
Uh,
She's a
I
little
mean,
whiny.
she's a princess. She's
And
a
there is an
lady.
ick.
Like,
There is an ick in this book on what she points out about her own brother. That's a little ick to me.
um,
You know what I'm saying? It's a little ick because she seems so like proud of it. I'm like, I didn't put two and together that they were like brother sister type. Like, I thought like she was like in love with him, but no, that was a little ick for me because she seemed too proud. She seemed a little too proud to know what he looked like down there.
hmm. Yeah.
Now we're still pretty early on in this book, but last week we were left with some questions. Why was Saeris' mother killed? I still believe it has something to do with her little parlor trick, as she likes to call it, with the metal. Or what Everlane, this is jumping a little bit, but what Everlane and Fisher believe her to be as an alchemist.
See, I don't know.
Or,
I've her mom definitely got wrapped up into something, but I feel like if it was the whole alchemical thing or her little parlor trick, that she would have been taken into custody. Or like even if her mom had something, they would have investigated her and Hayden maybe a little bit more. Um, but I don't know.
that's my kind of theory. Her dad. Who is her dad? And how did he die? I did reread back to the beginning that he is dead. So we don't
Is
really
he
know
though?
much. It's said that he is dead, but yes. Because I have a theory about him.
Think he's Faye?
I think he was Fae, and that is where her little drop of Fae, for her to be who they believe she is, comes from. I don't believe it's her mom. I believe it comes from her dad, who is dead.
I don't know. I still stand
And
by my unhitched theory that they are the original people and Madra like snuffed them out.
I think she's the hair,
The air?
the air, the hair, the air. I think she may be
I
the heir.
think so too.
It just
I think so too.
fit. It fit. So I believe she's who Bellican is afraid of coming after for the throne.
I kind of
So,
think the same thing. That's why she's able to like manipulate the Quicksilver and like awaken it and touch the sword and
yeah, there's more
with
to
her.
her. Um, Another question is what all can she do with metal? We kind of find out like a little bit in these chapters. We did find out what the plague bag contained of, so we'll get into that a little bit later. We did find that out. And I think it has something to do with what's in that bag is what is keeping Madra alive.
Like, does she feed off of people? Like,
I don't think so much feed, but they carry her hair because they believe it's supposed to protect them from the plague. So there's something about her. There's something about her. And they still can't figure out why she could close the portal or the pathways to the Quicksilver. So she's hiding something, or she's hiding someone.
Didn't it say something about, like, anybody could close them, but it takes, like, a specific person to...
An alchemist has to close them. Because they said, they couldn't figure out how she used Solace. You can't touch Solace without it burning your hands or melting your hands right off of you.
Yeah.
So they can't figure out, and they said the only way somebody can touch Solace is if you were an alchemist. Because you can pretty much communicate with the metal, essentially. So she's either hiding said alchemist. Maybe it's her dad. It's a good theory. Or there's more than meets the eye with her.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely more than meets the eye with Madra. Like, she's a fucking psycho bitch. Like,
so again, we don't know who/what exactly is Queen Madra. We do get that little bit of what we kind of just talked about more into these chapters. We do find out more on the necklace that Kingfisher had Saeris wear and what it actually does. But we don't know really what it contains or like what exactly makes it so, like, we know what it does. We just don't know why it was made. And how did his mom know he would need it later on?
Maybe his mom's a seer.
Maybe. What control does Queen Madra have on her guardians? And then I put, does it have to do with them carrying a lock of her hair? Does it control them? Is that how she controls them or something? And then we still don't know what the heretical magic is. I'm assuming, I don't even know what heretical means. I'm kind of guessing it's something with hereditary. Kind of putting words. I didn't Google it.
No, I want to say, so, like, heretics, isn't that what they called witches and stuff like that? Like, it's like a forbidden thing. So essentially,
since
like,
they are technically like forbidden and stuff. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like, that's how I read it and stuff. So,
okay.
My turn?
Oh, yeah. But I will put, because the only thing I had for your chapter was, again, I believe either her mother or father was Fae, but I'm going with her father because we don't know much about him yet. And one of them has to be Fae because I reread, she has dark hair, blue eyes, and it's unusual for anybody there in the hub or in those wards that has dark hair, blue eyes. She noted that in the first chapter because Hayden has lighter hair, brown eyes.
Yep.
But we don't know what her parents look like. Like, other than that, she takes after a feature of her mom, and he got their dad's cleft chin. I had to go back so I could make sure I didn't miss anything on that. But okay.
Okay. So in the beginning of this chapter, she's just been carried through what we learn is the Quicksilver, or what we've learned either prior to this or in this chapter. But so we get introduced to Everlane, and she has been taking care of Saeris while she's basically like sedated in a coma, trying to recover from her wounds. We'll just go ahead and start calling her Lane. She sings to her in a language that Saeris is not familiar with. Um, she knows that she's got this soft, gentle voice, and it makes her miss her mother. Um, Slowly she starts to begin to like feel everything coming out of it, and then she just wakes up. She instantly notices like I'm not in my bed, I'm not even in fucking Carrion's bed. Um, and she describes it as not smelling like muskrat, so she knows that it's not Carrion's bed. So
Oop.
I thought that was funny. Um, she's covered in immaculate white sheets with a thick woolen blanket. The room sounded really gorgeous. Ceiling was a pale, washed out blue. The walls were a darker shade of blue, almost violet. Different paintings all over the walls, displayed in heavy gilt frames, plush couches, more books on a shelf than she had ever seen. Um, she assumes that she's still in Madra's palace. And then she's a little freaked out. You know, she takes a breath and she can see the fog coming from her mouth, which is obviously like, okay, I'm not in the fucking palace because it's hot as balls. And, you know, she's seeing her breath. Um, and then Everlane or Lane, she comes into the room saying that whoever Master Eskins is said that she was going to wake up and just assumes that Lane is one of Madra's lady maids. And she is described as having the lightest blonde hair that reaches past her waist. She was wearing it in braids. She seemed to look like she was the same age as Saeris. Her skin was pale and her eyes a vivid green. And she was wearing a hunter green dress that was a work of art. I want vivid green eyes. So Lane gets her water. She's hesitant to drink it. She reassures her that it is just water, nothing else. And if she wants to drink it, she'll refill it when she's done. She obviously thinks that she's fucking with her because nobody in her realm, like, just fucking offers up water. So she drinks it, and then Lane hands her a second cup. Says she can drink that as well. Pulls up a chair. She tells her she's been calling her lists for the last 10 days. So we know that it's been 10 days since she was taken through the Quicksilver. And as she's talking to her, she puts her hair behind her ears, revealing that she's got fucking pointy ears, which Saeris is kind of caught off guard, like, just stares at her in disbelief. Lane can see that she kind of upset Saeris a little bit or kind of caught her off guard, startling her with, you know, her ears and asks if she'd heard of her kind. And Saeris confirms it, but also wonders if Hayden was playing a revenge prank on her for being so cruel when she had left him. You know, remember she said some pretty cruel things to him to get him to, you know, leave, which was fucked up, but also called for, I guess, because, you know, he would have followed her.
Oh, yeah.
Then she starts to kind of remember, you know, death as she describes him, how he had scooped her up, carried her from the palace, brought her there. And she does remember in that moment that he had pointed ears and then something about his canine, to which she blurts out and asks to see her teeth. Lane refuses and says that that's rude. She's not going to show her. So she's still not believing, like, you know, that she's in front of a fae. And starts to say they're not real, that they're myths and stories, fae folklore, but there have never been any fae. So she also mentions that the fae have wings, and Lane tells her that they have not had those in thousands of years. And Saeris tells Lane that her mother told her stories of the fae and how they visited the shores of her land. They brought war, diseases, and death with them. Lane gets offended by that and says that they're not diseased. They have not been afflicted with any blight in a millennia, and that humans are the ones with the germs, and they fall sick and die at the drop of a hat. Which is not a lie.
Reason why I believe it's not her mother. That was fae.
Well, I mean, her mother was killed, so I mean, like, she was murdered, wasn't she? And
yeah,
just like left.
Her throat was split. I think she would have noticed pointy ears too on her mom.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah,
I kind of believe that's why I kind of believe, because we don't know if she's ever met her dad.
No, we don't know.
It was only stated I believe it said something about that Hayden took after their dead father's cleft chin, and that was about it. So that's why I still don't believe it's her mom. It would have to be her dad. Or was she adopted or taken? Is she not even related to her mom or dad?
That's a good theory right there.
Let me see real quick. I don't think it stated that she took after any of. What's this one? It just said that there wasn't much about him that was alike. Where she was dark-haired, he was light. His hair was curly to the point of chaos, and there was so much of it. His eyes were a rich liquid brown and bore a gentleness to them that my blue eyes did not. And then the cleft in his chin came courtesy of our dead father, his proud straight nose from our dead mother. And that was it. She never said what she got from her parents. It was only stated what he compared, or what he got from the parents. So, could she been adopted or found? Like, did they just find her?
Yeah, that'd be a good little twist.
I'm gonna have to keep my theory in mind. I'll forget it.
So Lane asks her, like, what else have you been told about us? And Sarah says that she can't remember anything else about the Fae, which is a lie. She just doesn't want to say anymore. And tells her that she remembers a man coming through the portal. And then Lane was like a male. So, like, does she not like him being called a man because he's not like a human man? Like, he's a fae male? Like, is it like a...
Well, we don't know their etiquette.
Like, is that just how they...
Their etiquette.
That's right. Yeah.
She's supposed to learn their etiquette. And seeing as she's technically a princess, it's probably a proper term for her rather than using man.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't know if it was also because they're fae, so that's kind of like...
It could be that, too. It could be
You're not
that, too.
You're not a fae man, you're a fae male.
Could be that, too.
Lane says he came through because the sword called to him, and then Saeris finally gives her name, and Lane tells her that that's a very pretty fae name.
Yes.
So, I think there's a big connection. There's just the little things, like
it's either
her magic,
or they found her. It's got to be one of the two, or adopted her.
Yeah.
Somebody left her with them. One of the two.
We find out that she's currently in Evelia at the Winter Palace when Rempus bursts in and says that he needs the pendant back that was given to Saeris when Death brought her with him through the portal. We find out something is going on with him, that he depends on having that pendant, and without it, things happen, and he's currently struggling because he hasn't had it for 10 days. And we also learn a little bit later on, and I don't know if I have this in my notes or not, but the only reason that he didn't go like full mad or whatever over the 10 days is he also has a silver ring
Mm-hmm.
that kind of like kept some things, but he was really struggling without the pendant. The more he takes it off, the more it gets worse. So Saris removes it. Rempus has her stick it in this little pouch, making sure that he does not touch it, which I want to know what it is about the pendant that kind of like hurts him, because we also like in with the
Is
king and
it
stuff, like it.
Quicksilver? Is it made of Quicksilver? You can't touch the Quicksilver because it'll melt off.
Oh.
So only certain people can.
But see, and he's got it in his eyes from wherever. Like, so is hell like basically being submerged in Quicksilver?
It might be because it makes you lose your sanity. And that's what happened to Heron.
Yeah.
Heron was
Because
being.
he's got it in his eyes. Like you can see it in his eyes and stuff. He's got silver. Or was he like, did something happen and that's why his mom knew he would need the pendant? Like, I don't understand.
I go over those chapters. It was in one of the chapters where it kind of explains about. It didn't say how his mother knew, but he didn't have it when his mother gave him the pendant.
Yeah.
And then we'll go more into that. But yeah, there's a little kind of
Maybe
learn some.
maybe she was a seer. I don't know. Okay. So Lane says she wants to see him, but we find out that it's very like ill-advised for him to stick around longer than needed. Like he's not supposed to be there. We find out a little bit later, he's exiled basically for like so long.
But the family dynamics is a little weird. Because
Yeah.
like we find out that they're like brother sister, but I don't think they have the same mom.
One of their parents is not the same.
Because he, like, when I go over my chapters, it was said that when him and his mom were going to the palace, when they would move to the palace or something like that. Like, so I don't believe they have
What
the
if it's not
same
the same
mom.
dad?
Maybe they just kind of took him in because he joined Belican's
I
army.
don't know. What if it's not what if it's not the same dad? What if they have the same mom but they don't share the same dad and that's why he despises him? I feel like it would be more that, because I feel like if that was your
Yeah, but he did
son,
something. He did something on
yeah.
somewhere, and that's what got him in trouble. So I don't know. There's still like some missing pieces that we don't know yet. But somewhere in that
Uh,
they don't have the same parents somewhere. The way
yeah.
I believe the way things are being
I
like
100%
talked about.
believe that one of their parents is not the same. Like they're half siblings. Whatever side it is, I think it's the dad. I don't think they have the same dad. I just feel like because I
Like
feel
it's
like
the
what he
mom.
did, it was super easy for him to just cast him out because it's not his son. It's not like he had to defend him or come up with an excuse as to why he did what he did and everything. Like, I feel like it's the
But
dad.
but it wouldn't be so hard for him even if it's his son to cast him out because he would technically be a threat to the throne. Because
Okay,
he
that's
is
true.
older. He is older.
Yeah. Fair point. Um,
So,
so Saeris gets to soak in this amazing bathtub and is shocked. She's never actually been fucking clean in her life. Um, she tries to say she doesn't need the bath, but she keeps saying that she needs to get home. And Lane tells her that that's not going to happen, as her father isn't going to let her go. And that's when we find out that her dad is King Belicon, Deborah. So she gets cleaned up. She's thrown quickly into a gorgeous dress. Lane does her hair, a little bit of makeup, and then it's off to meet the king. And I did not have a good feeling about that going into the next chapter.
No.
I
don't like him.
No. So let's see. Lane then leads her through the halls of the Winter Palace. They pass a series of statues. She explains that they're the gods. She asks if they still worship the Corcoran. I think that's how I pronounce that. I don't know. I'm probably butchering the name, so don't come at me. But she asks if they still worship them in the Silver City. And Saeris says that her mother told her about how the people prayed to the gods in Zul'Varen, but the names and temples were eaten by the desert long ago, and they used gods to curse their luck or show emotion. And she mentions that Madra had fashioned herself to be the closest thing to a god. And Everlane says that Madra letting the gods vanish away shows how much her corruption went through. She just didn't care. She wanted to be that god, basically. So then we get introduced to some of their gods. So she describes it as superstition and sacrilege. Your queen is human, and even though the sand and wind swept away the names of the gods, I assure you Madra knows them. That she's chosen to let them vanish from her people's history speaks volumes of her corruption. And then we get introduced to them. You have Styx, the god of shadows. You have Curran, the god of secrets. Nisanai? I have no idea. I know I'm butchering that so bad. The goddess of masks. Malleus, god of dawn and new beginnings. And it says, these two are often counted as one god, Lane said, gesturing to the two beautiful females who stood arm in arm atop the same marble plinth. Balmuthin? I know I'm probably butchering that name as well. Twin sisters, goddesses of the sky. Legend says that they once were one god, but a mighty storm came, and Balmuthin refused to take shelter as it raged across the land. The powerful spirit within the storm was furious that Balmuthin didn't cower before him, and so he lashed her with forks of lightning. Again and again, the lightning struck Balmuthin, and she didn't die. Instead, she cracked and split in two, becoming Bal and Mithin. Bal is the goddess of the sun, but goddess of the day in a looser sense. Mithin is the goddess of the moon, but again, she presides over all of night. Bal Mithin, Baliamin, the twins. As I studied their faces closer, I realized that these two women did bear a startling similarity to faces I'd seen carved into the walls in the Hall of Mirrors. This was an undeniable link between this place and my home, one that made me feel strange. So, their twin sons and stuff like that, all of that from, her home is
but
just,
one is the moon.
But for them, since they're in a different realm, it could present as two suns and not a sun and a moon. So I don't know. I do think that there's a connection to that, but
unhinged theory is not having day or nighttime in Zul'Varen helping Madra. It's like an unhinged theory.
At this point, I wouldn't be surprised. Um, then the final one we get introduced to is Zareth, the god of chaos and change. She says looking upon him gets his attention, and few people enjoy that. They all pray to the gods that they'll return someday, and some pray that Zareth gets lost on his journey home. And then on the way to like she did her little thing. I don't know exactly what she did to touch her forehead, but she touched the boot to like kind of show the respect and stuff like that. Um, because
Wasn't
I
it to
guess
touch?
his attention is not
Yeah,
something
to
that you
touch
want.
the.
You want him to have like attention towards other people. You don't want his attention on you.
And that's why they touched like the back of the foot, so that way he
Yeah.
keeps his attention away from you.
Yes. On the way to the kings, they pass a bunch of people, all with different colored eyes, different colored hair, and they were all fucking glaring at her. She notes that the Grand Hall was ridiculously sized compared to the Hall of Mirrors. There were hundreds of Fae in there that were watching with silent judgment as they walked by. Then she, I think this is Omnom Shakrai is the giant dragon. Omnom Shakrai. Is this big giant statue that she stares at in awe of how large it is. She wants more info, but Lane tells her later as they approach the king, which I want more information because, I mean, it's the last dragon. Like, that's pretty much all we learn. That's the last dragon, the last dragon. She bows. Saeris does not. Saeris gets called out by someone about not bowing to the king, and she replies, "He's not my king," which, I mean, he's not. So, of course she's not going to fucking bow to him. She doesn't know their etiquette. That's not her king. Like, she's just, whatever. So Bellican tells her she's entitled to some political leniency until she leaves the throne room, and then she becomes one of his subjects. She's going to be taught their rules of the kingdom. They will be obeyed. She's going to learn like etiquette, shit like that. She was brought there to fulfill a specific task, and she interrupts him, asking, what tasks. No one mentioned anything about fulfilling a task, and that she needs to get back to Zulvarin and to her brother, and the king tells her that he would already be dead along with the others. Since Madra had made the threat, she would have made good on that threat. He tells her how unlikely it was that a woman woke the Quicksilver with the sword, but after waiting thousands of years, they won't be messing around and all the portals are going to be open. So then he kind of like, I'm done with you, whatever. They move on to the next agenda and says to bring in the dog. This is why I do think that it's the dad. I mean, I don't know. Dads are fucking ruthless. I feel like if it was the mom, I don't know. I think it's the dad. I think it's him. We're officially introduced to Death, who we find out his name's Kingfisher, and this crowd starts yelling different things like Living Curse, Bane of Gilithry, the Black Knight, and then they just, repeat Kingfisher. He tries to free himself. He's unsuccessful. We learn that he was exiled. He was not supposed to be back yet. The king wants to punish him. The crowd starts yelling more things like have mercy, kill him, banish him, send him to his grave. Everlane pleads with Malway, and we learn that she's an oracle, and she hesitates at first, but then stands up to the king and says that she has a prophecy and she needs the sword. Bellican wants to finish with Kingfisher, have a meeting in private, but she grabs his wrists and says the gods must be obeyed or House Dabara shall fall. So she grabs the sword and she says that Kingfisher does not die by your hand and to return what you took. And he immediately thinks it's a sword because, why? Why would it ever be anything else? but she's actually talking about the pendant. So he decides to grant Kingfisher his sanity and gives back the pendant.
How did he get the pendant? Because Renfis came to get it.
But Renfis was on his way back to give it to Kingfisher when people were following him and jumped him. That's how he got his black eye and everything.
Yes.
They
Okay. Yeah.
knocked
In
him
the split lip.
unconscious, and that's where they
Okay.
found him.
Okay.
So by
Yeah.
the time he woke up, yeah.
Okay. I
Um,
forgot about that part.
yeah, so I
Yes.
have that, yeah. Um, so someone screams to lock him away, another says to set him free. Everybody's still chanting everything. And then someone from the back shouts to send him back to the front and make him finish what he started. I got so fucking pissed when I read this, though. So pissed, okay? Because I was like, you Renthis, you fucking dick bag. Like, you traitorous motherfucker. Like, you did not just set him up, like, to get him busted. But then we get to that. Um, So Saeris and Lane look to see who made the comment, and the king asks the person to come forward. I was writing my notes as I was reading this. I was like, oh, that fucker. I was like, here comes fucking Renthis saying he left the front when he heard that Kingfisher had returned. But he wouldn't speak his name. He only referred to him as he when I learned he had returned.
He's probably got a safe face.
Well, yeah, of course.
And especially in front of the king, he can't
Yeah.
be like, hey, that's still my friend, yeah.
Yeah. And I left this out of my notes, but the king kind of gets a little like pissy, like, really, you left on whose orders? And he's like,
Yeah.
obviously on your orders. He tells the king that the situation is grave, their men are dying in droves every day, and that Kingfisher would be a great weapon for them. The king is skeptical. He says, oh, he'd be dead in a week with the way he is. And Renfis counters, hey, that's going to be better than fucking putting him on trial, having to deal with him. Like, who cares? You don't want to deal with him. He'll be dead in a week. What better way to let him go?
Right.
So, of course, reverse psychology on that. The king's like, oh, yeah, that's fucking amazing. Let's just do that. You can have him in a week. Since he knows, so much about the Quicksilver, he can help Saeris get to, a point where she can open the portals by herself. So Renfis picks up the pendant off the floor and he winces when he touches it. But I didn't put two and two together about the Quicksilver until you had said something because, it hurt him. He quickly places it on him, and then Belican says that, you have 5 seconds to get him out of there before he basically changes his mind. Lane is anxious. She's, whispering to get out. And then they get to the door, and she begs the king for leave so Saeris can get to work. And he tells her to look out, he tells her to look after her. She's your responsibility now. Like, it's on you. So then this is where we find out that Renfis was jumped before he got to his room. They knocked him out, and before he got, he was gone, basically before he got up. Because Lane is just like, fuck's wrong with you? You were supposed to get him out of here, blah, 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 blah. And so then Lane asks, why he went through the pool. And he's like, I made a quick decision. The portal was closing. And so Lane says that they'll just sleep in her room because, they don't have anywhere else to really stay. And that's where they're going to be safest. And then Saeris doesn't want to go with her. She's tired of being told what to do. Mm-hmm. She's like, why don't you just ask me? She's like, ask me instead of telling me. And Lane does tell her that, Saeris has questions and stuff. She's like, I'll be able to answer your questions in due time, but not now. You're not safe. And she tells her that they're always at war and to be careful because people pretend to be your friends and are always ready with knives to stab you in the back. And that's where Saeris has a thought. Does she consider herself one of them?
Yeah, there's just something about Lane that I don't know what it is yet, but I don't like her. And it doesn't help that
Yeah.
she's so
I
whiny.
I'm not like I don't know. I really liked Celeste and look how that blew up in my face.
I knew something
So
was fishy with her. I totally knew something was up with her.
I'm not holding my breath this time around because it fucking backfired the last time real big.
Listen,
So
I am the type of person that has gut intuitions, and I am like 95% of oh, ask Daryl. He always goes by my gut instinct because I am like 95 to 98% right every single time. Now there may be a few times that I am wrong, but I'm normally right.
do you want a cookie?
No, unless you got gluten-free ones.
Fuck no.
My go.
Yes, that is all I
Okay.
have.
All right, so she's in her room. She slept. And then upon waking up, which I believe Lane comes and wakes her up, Saeris realizes that she has no blackout curtains because in Zolvarian, you typically use the blackout curtains. It was actually dark outside where she was at. And this is where we find out, there's two suns. The two suns were always in the sky in Zolvarian, so they didn't have a nighttime. But Everlane stated that things were different in Ivalia, right? Ivalia, is that what we call
Evelia.
it?
Evelia.
Evalia. Evalia. Saris also learned what snow was after seeing everything capped with a layer of white. On the way they were head to the library. She had noticed that the females regarded her with cold disdain, and the males watched her with sneers on their face and hate in their eyes. She knew she wasn't welcomed there with being a human. Here we get a little insight about her mom and how they met Elroy. Her mom had worked in the library there in Zolvarian, even though like all the books were like covered in mold. People still went there. Whoever was in the third had to have a token and a recommendation from their employer before they were even allowed inside the library. But with her mother as the clerk, that allowed her to be there as well. And Elroy took her in as his apprentice. So this is where they meet him and become like really close to him. He was hoping she would study. Shit, I didn't put that in there. That she would learn something, but instead she was already drawn to anything that she could learn about metalwork.
Yep.
So that makes me wonder, did she know at this time what she could do? Like, because we don't know like her age frame here either. So it was either she knew she could do things or she was just starting to like get drawn to it. When they arrive at the library there in Ivelia, we meet Rosarius, who was brought back to the court by who he called the rough-handed bastards. He was not very happy that they woke him up in the middle of the night. He thought it was his time to go and not be brought back to the court. I kind of like him though. He seems like a weird I don't know. He's like weird but kind of like funny at the same time. Hard to describe. Once Saeris introduces herself, Rosarius had mentioned she must be the alchemist due to the Quicksilver awakening. And Everlyn flinches to this. I want to know why she flinched. What does she have against... I want to know why she flinched. What does she have against alchemists? Does she not want Saeris to be an alchemist?
I don't know.
Because later on, every time they call her the alchemist, Everlane gets defensive. Well, we don't know that. We're jumping ahead. She may not be the one that awakens the Quicksilver. Even though the facts were there in front of her that Fisher had stated, she still doesn't want to believe that she was the alchemist, if that's what she truly is. But she's like very defensive.
But she really likes Saeris, and we do learn that they do tend to go crazy when they're an alchemist with that power. So maybe she's hoping that it wasn't her because she wants a friend. I don't know. Maybe there's like this really bad stigma around alchemists. Maybe she's going to prove them wrong. She's a lot stronger than some of the ones that have gone crazy.
I don't know. Again, she lets them know that they are not sure what she is yet, but Kingfisher hears Solus calling. He heard Solus calling and answered it. He then found it in Saeris' hands, which shocked Rosarius. Saeris didn't know what an alchemist was, nor who Solus was, because alchemists were fae. But so Kingfisher believes she has a drop of fae blood in her, and this is where my theory comes in that I believe it's either her dad or that she was found or given to or adopted or something. It was enough. She had enough fae blood in her that could stop Solus from burning off of her hands, but not enough that it mattered, I think is what it said as well. And this is where my notes came in. And I won't lie, after we find out that Everlane and Kingfisher are related, it's a little weird that she points out that she has seen his balls and then states she's seen everything of his. And she seemed proud of it, and that was a little weird to me. Just weird. And then they kind of go at it, and Saeris calls his sword a toothpick and said that it wasn't very impressive, and Kingfisher did not like that at all. Even Rosarius had stated that it was an honor to lay or to have the sword. I don't know which sword this one was called.
Nimerel.
Okay, because I didn't put the name on this one. And Fisher had bragged about it slaying thousands. And then Everlane wants to teach Saeris about the history of Ivalia, but she wants no part of it, saying their politics and courts is their business. Which, she's not wrong. You know, she's not from here. She's just doing what she needs to do so she can get out and leave to check on her brother and Elroy, you know, to see if they're actually alive.
Yep.
I think Corian would fit into that category too.
Carrion.
Like as a Carrion, yeah. I don't have his name in front of me, so I'm trying to there's too many. I think he would fit in that category that she would want to make sure that he was still alive.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, it would be one of those, like, curiosity killed the cat type thing. Like, you know, was he sly enough to weasel his way out of being massacred?
Maybe. So at this point, she just wants to learn how to open the Quicksilver so she can see her brother and friends' dead bodies, because at this point, everybody but Fisher has convinced her that they are more than likely dead. But she wants to see their dead bodies for her own two eyes if they truly are. Everlane doesn't like that and wants Saeris to just accept that they are more than likely dead. Again, I don't like her. because this causes Saeris to go off, asking her if she had a brother and if she loved him. But Everlane answers yes to those questions, but she then says it's more complicated than you think, which then causes Fisher to chime in and gives Saeris hope. He believes that Madra would have conscripted them. This kind of confused Saeris a little bit. But we do learn that Madra had lied to the king and tricked him and cut off his trade lines. So this is when she closed the Quicksilver, that they're trying to figure out how she was able to do it with Solus. That's the one thing they can't figure out, how she had how she had done it. And this Dianthus, is that how you pronounce that? There's rumors that the Dianthus heir is in Zilvarian somewhere. Is it Saeris? Or was this why her mother was killed?
I don't know.
Again, Everlane doesn't 100% believe that Saeris was the one to open the pathway of the Quicksilver, but Fisher lets them know that she was the one holding Solus. It wasn't Heron, and it wasn't him, because he would have razed the city to the ground a long time ago if he was able to open up the Quicksilver.
Mm-hmm.
He would have put Madra into the ground. And then we learn that when he took off the pendant and put it on Saeris, and he brought Saeris through the Quicksilver to the palace, that going through the portal caused him to take more in of the Quicksilver. And we learned,
because he didn't have his pendant.
A little bit later on, we'll learn about his mom gave him the pendant, but he had to go one of the pathways without it. And we'll get more into that in this next chapter. It'll explain everything. But Everlane tells Fisher, that they were going to fix this. But it was stated, and I didn't put this in my notes, that Saeris had seen that the Quicksilver in his eyes almost like gave hope. Like they thought it was like a hope when she said that they would fix this. But he states there was nothing to fix, only a human to teach and a queen to put in the ground. And he keeps calling her Everlane's pet. So what does that mean fully? I think there's something behind that. Maybe that's why I don't like Everlane.
No, maybe.
Something fishy about her. Renfis didn't have much to say on any of the matters, other than he tried telling Fisher to let Belican handle Madra's business and to help him with the war they were currently fighting, to which he ignores him. And in turn, Fisher asks Saeris if she's ever channeled a metal's energy before. It took her a little bit to think on it, and he said that she would know if she did, and she said yes, because she thought about all the times that she had messed with metal. And then he asked if she's had experience working in the forge, and this piqued her interest, because she does. So, now we have them going to the forge. Renfis doesn't think they'll let Fisher in, but Fisher says they have no choice. At this time, they're kind of like doing their little talking, and Saeris is behind, wanting to escape. But Fisher had said the magic word for her forge, making her curious at what a Fae forge looks like. She had also nowhere to go, and because there was multiple pathways when opening the Quicksilver, she wasn't sure if she'd get the right one when she heard them over talking about there being multiple ones. Everlane Everlane doesn't like the idea of them going to the forge. She believes they are diving into something head first. She wants to cover the theory first, but because there are no books on the alchemist's process, they kind of can't do that. She wanted to start slow with Saeris, learning things about Ivalia, but Fisher doesn't want that. So, he gives her a rundown on their history, the truth of their history. And this is where I think Lane becomes a big baby. Before their time, their ancestors were cursed, giving them their canines. They drained humans by the millions, drinking them dry before the blood curse was lifted. So they no longer have this curse. So it was before their time. Which causes, when he tells her this, causes Everlane to get upset that he tells Saeris this and throws it in his face that sometimes she wishes he wasn't her brother. And this causes him to flinch. So all this, like, mask that he puts on, her words kind of hit him. Like, it kind of... So I'm going to assume that they were close before he was exiled. For her words to cause him to flinch and hit him the way they did. She also told him to go fuck off before she runs off crying. Which, she wanted her to learn their history, so I don't know why she's throwing a big fit about it.
Yeah.
But then this causes Renfist to agree with that Fisher was an asshole and that he used to care about his friends and family. And I think it was here a little bit, but Kingfisher states that being completely cut off from civilization and summarily forgotten about has a way of changing you after a while. So that makes me curious that what all happened to him while he's away. He pretty much tells Saeris that it was like living in hell. He was pretty much in hell. But she also notes that he was far gone from them. Like, he's not who they remember. He's too far away. Instead of following Renfist to check on Everlane like she originally had planned to do, she follows Kingfisher instead to the forge. Before they go into the forge, we find out that Kingfisher is magic. And that was all he said. He didn't further explain it. He just said that everything about him was magic. I had to giggle in this next part coming up, though. Or, like, later on. So they walked into the forge. It was a mess and looked like it was abandoned. The walls were slick with frost. The benches were covered in vines. Some were even climbing up the walls. The place was a disaster, and the person who was supposed to be watching it was no longer watching it. Fisher, I didn't put this in here, but Fisher kind of chalked it up to that he was paid a hefty price for his time watching it, and he kind of just took off with that money. For like, what, I think he said 200 years or something he's being paid for. Saeris wondered if Fisher could do a spell to help clean this mess up, but he said that their abilities are sacred gifts used discerningly for righteous purposes. So then she starts asking him questions because he's the only one that would tell her the truth. So she asked if there was other palaces like the summer, spring, autumn, but he decided that he would leave that portion up to Everlane, and he wanted her to ask the more harder questions that nobody else would give her the truth. So now we get to the good stuff while they're cleaning out this forge. This is where she asks him about the necklace and why he's unhinged without it. So previously we learned that the Quicksilver pools are pathways that connect to the different realms. So the new things that we learned are, he tells her that Quicksilver itself is volatile. It's very dangerous. Some of their elders believe that it possesses a low level of sentience. Now, there's something behind this because she brought up the fact that it was in Heron's dagger. And Fisher states that he shouldn't have been able to touch it, let alone claim that dagger. So, this makes me believe, is Madra hiding an alchemist? Does she have one of her own?
Unless maybe those are weapons that were taken from the Fae that were killed during the war and when she pushed them back.
Before she shut the pathways. That could also be
But
as
hiding
well.
an alchemist could also be a thing. Why not have something that your enemy needs?
Yep. So that way they can't get the pathways open anymore. Because it was stated that alchemists used to forge Quicksilver in weaponry for Fae warriors. Saeris believes that Heron had seen things, and this is where Fisher confirms that he did. The Quicksilver will push any creature beyond the boundaries of sanity. And this is what was happening to him in the throne room in front of Belican, because he was without his necklace for so long. And the ring's not powerful enough. Because here's where we learn about the necklace. It was a pendant or relic that Kingfisher's mother had given him because she knew he'd need it. And I need to know how she knew.
I think she's a seer.
I want to know how she knew. After joining Belican's army, because his pendant was one of the most powerful ones, he was called upon to travel between Ivalia and other realms, but at one time he was forced to travel without it, which caused the Quicksilver to take him, but a healer was able to draw most of it out, but he is left with some reminders, which is the filaments that she sees the filaments of Quicksilver in his eyes. And he states that the pendant is what calms the noises in his head from it. And he was only able to give her the pendant to wear because he also had a ring, and if he didn't, she would have died going through the Quicksilver. That, and she was already like on death's door right then and there anyways from all her injuries. He wasn't going to let her die because he was using her, because hold on, I'm going to die right here. He wasn't going to let her die because she shouldn't have been able to touch Solus, let alone draw it, and the silver had responded to her and she somehow activated it. She did what only an alchemist could do, and then he states that he's only using her as a bargaining chip to his freedom. That if she can open the pathways again to get Belican pretty much to Madra, then maybe he can be like, well, you can have her if you let me free type ordeal. Okay, so this is where I kind of giggled. For the next hours, they're cleaning the forge. Renfis comes to find her and sends a confused look at Fisher, stating that they haven't started working yet. But Saeris tells him the place was a disaster. So next thing we know, his shadows are going up the walls, and the temperature drops, which causes Saeris to freak out, but Renfis just tells Fisher that it was enough. Once the darkness snaps back, everything was fixed. The windows were fixed with new glass, shelves were stocked with equipment, the plants were now in pots, and it was warmer in the forge. This causes Saeris to go off on Kingfisher, telling him how he made them break their backs cleaning the place, then brings up what he said about their abilities being sacred gifts and using them for the righteous purpose. Renfis says that Fisher isn't shy about using his gifts to complete mundane tasks. But Fisher only tells her that he wanted to see if she knew what hard work was and that he was magic before he left. I thought that was kind of funny. It made me giggle because he made her do all this work and he could have just easily cleaned it from the beginning.
I called him a dick once or twice during that. Something
I
my
did.
husband would do if he had powers.
I didn't put in here, but he gave her the name of
Oh,
um,
Shaleth.
O'Shaleth, which is a butterfly, which I think you stated
Eyes every
earlier.
day.
Yeah, it's a type of butterfly. OSHA for short. They hatch, live, and die all in one day, and the cold kills them very fast. It's a cute little name, though. I don't think she
His
likes
way
it.
of saying she's very weak and she's not gonna make it.
Well, I mean, she's human living in a fey world, and she's not
Is she
used to all
though?
that. Well, that she thinks of. So I'm good.
Oh, that's it? Oh.
Yeah, that was the end of it. It was
Well,
he
that's
walking
that.
away. He just leaves the forge after telling her all of that.
Okay, so in this next chapter, Lane brings her breakfast, invites her to um go to the library, to which Sarah says she would love to. And so then they walk in. Rusarius is giving Renfis shit for not getting Kingfisher out of the library because he's got food. He's gonna fucking ruin the books. He's gonna get food everywhere. Blah blah blah. Um, we also learn that the gods went on a pilgrimage thousands of years ago. That's all we kind of learned right in this moment. That they just kind of left.
Going back to him eating, I felt bad when Lane got after him, and then like the whole dog reference thing, telling her to put his food outside and he'll just go eat it like the dog he is.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for him.
Uh, so during that conversation about him being a dog and everything, he gets pissed off enough that he does just leave. Bremfus says he's going to go train with him, but also says that he deserves some grace since he doesn't have any rooms there, nowhere to eat or sleep. And he asks if Lane can imagine 110 years in the place alone, and she says that she can because she did it for a long time. She imagined the hell, basically, that he was going through alone
She can
for a long
imagine
time.
it. She can imagine it, but she's not going to understand and know exactly what he went through, especially with
Yeah.
him having, yes, he has his pendant, but he also has Quicksilver running through him too. So, whole different whole different thing.
Yeah. Lane decides to start by asking, like, what do you know about alchemical practices? Which is nothing. She tells her that she has no idea what that even means. And so then Saeris knows that she's not okay after that whole like interaction and stuff and asks her. Lane tells her that he was the best and only good thing in her life, and now he's gone, like she knew he would be, but it's really hard because now she has to watch it. Before she kind of imagined what he might be going through, now she's seeing it firsthand. Um, we learned that alchemy was a form of magic. It's forgotten magic, long dead, old magic that was as much a myth to the Fae of Evelia um, as the Fae was to Zulvarin. None of the books actually indicated how to replicate what the original alchemists could do. It's assumed that they used their magic to open or close the pathways and activate and deactivate it, and that they lived short lives and often went mad and killed themselves. And in that moment, Saris is kind of curious, like, how the fuck can I read your language? Like, how can I understand you? We're from two completely different realms. And we learn that Madra was kind of like an anchor to their language. She was always able to speak common Fae, so it kind of just, went to them. And so she questions how Lane knows what she does about Madra and says that she was young and bloodthirsty and hungry for power when she took the throne. And it says, We don't know how she did it, but yes, Madra should have died centuries ago. It must be some form of magic, but we have no clue who performed it for her or why. We don't know how she discovered that the Quicksilver could be stilled with an Alchemiran sword either. That information was closely guarded by our kind for generations, but you don't need to be Fae or possess any special gift in order to close the doors
Oh,
between
okay.
our realms. The sword will do it for you. But that does say, how could she have touched the sword if she
Yeah.
stilled it? Because you can't touch it. So you are like you're onto something, just that it can be closed by anybody.
That makes me wonder then, does she, like I said, does she have an alchemist that
Yeah.
she's blackmailing, or like
Um, but it
unhinged theory?
says
It's her dad, and it was the only way to keep her alive. Unhinged theory.
that would be, I don't know, that would be, I don't know, that'd be fucked up.
It would fit though. It would fit
Like maybe
though.
that's why, well, no, I was gonna say maybe
Protection.
that's why her mom died,
But
but
like
no,
protection, so Bellican doesn't come after her if she's the heir.
maybe.
All right, that's my unhinged theory, and I'm sticking to it. Watch, I'm completely wrong.
I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. We also learn that it says, as far as we know, when one pool of Quicksilver is activated, all Quicksilver everywhere is activated. It's joined by some kind of ribbon of energy, I suppose. If you take a sword like Solace and plunge it into the Quicksilver, it severs that energy in a way that paralyzes it until Solace was removed. Every entrance to the pathway became frozen. There were members of this court on scouting parties exploring new pathways that had only recently opened up when Madra cut the cord. Friends, family members, they became trapped wherever they were. They haven't been seen since. We also learned later on that there is a possibility that they could be alive, but they went to very terrible places. And if they didn't die from being cut off, then the clans that were in those areas probably would have fucking done them in. Saeris asks how old she is, which is something that you typically don't discuss among the Fae. Like, they don't even know how old people are that's in the court. But we do learn that Lane is 1,486 years old. And then she asks about Kingfisher when he comes out of the shadows and says that he's 1,733 years. He was there to fetch Saeris. They were, I think, going back to the forge or whatever. So as they're walking, he tells her, just ask me next time if you want to fucking know something about me. And she says that she didn't because she knows he would lie. And then he counters saying if it was worth answering, then he would. So she repeats to him that Elroy said if you ask a man how big his cock is, that he will lie. Kind of catches him off guard, and he asks if she's like, you want to know how big my cock is? And she says no, she doesn't really care, just that she cares more about how he would answer the questions. Which honestly is, I guess, a good basis. I never really thought about that because a guy is going to definitely
Totally
exaggerate the size.
lie.
And he then smiles and says it's big enough to make her scream and then some. And so they go back and forth. And then he calls her a hungry little bitch in heat for saying
Yeah.
something like that.
Woo!
And
The gasp I gasped when I read
I
that.
know.
Like, oof. Shots were
Okay,
fired.
so yeah, really. She asks him if he really burnt that city down to the ground. He confirms it. And he says he didn't have a choice, but doesn't say more about that. So then she asks him where he was sent. He tells her it was hell and she should hope that she never goes there. Um,
What?
Oh. But then, you know, we get past their little back and forth, her questions and stuff, and he has her hold out her hand and he puts something in her palm. And it starts to burn and cause her pain. And she starts freaking out. He's, you know, holding her fist closed. He can hold her hands closed with just one of his hands. And he's trying to tell her to listen to it. She's freaking out. She says it burns. Like it's so cold that it's burning her. And she wants it to stop. But he wants her to continue to hold it. He wants her to listen. She doesn't want to with how much, you know, pain she's in. So then he yells at her, which gets her attention, causes her to like really focus. And he kind of like lets his shadows out and they go around them and she's able to concentrate and she hears the metal talking to her. It's chanting something over and over. It's chanting Anorath more. She screams it out loud and his eyes widen. What the fuck does that mean? Like, what is
Uh-huh.
it chanting that caused him to have a reaction the way that it did? You know, is it something important? Is it just, you know, is it about him? Is it about them? Is it about where she's at? Like, what is it?
Is it something he
So then,
learned? Is it something he learned that he didn't think that she would know? Like, that would be the first
is
thing that
it
they're
like,
telling her?
I want to Google what it means, but I don't want spoilers because I
Right.
feel like it's going to be something really fucking big. Um, so she opens her hand and there's liquefied Quicksilver just, you know, rolling around in the palm. And she panics and he reassures her that she's safe as long as he's touching her. Now, I'm assuming it's because he has the pendant and the Quicksilver is like kind of part of him that it's able to, like, he's able to help keep her safe for that. She wants it gone, but he tells her that she needs to make it solid again and to concentrate to tell it to sleep. So she does. It tries to disobey. So she commands it again and it listens. He tells her that he imagined that going differently, and then she fucking punches him in the face. And that's how he fucking ends. Because, you know, obviously, why would she not punch him in the face after what he just fucking did to her? Like,
Yeah.
somebody could argue she didn't give consent. She did not consent to that torture that he just fucking put her through to prove a point. And I know that's why he did it, to prove a point, to show, you know, that she is an alchemist. That's definitely a fucking test. You know it is. Like he
Oh,
tested
yeah, for
her. She
sure.
passed. She passed 100%. Like she's going to hone her fucking skill and just be a badass. So,
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Not
although
many.
the next chapter is called Swallow, so after this chapter and that comment, like I guess we're gonna see where this is gonna
Oop.
go.
Um, so I didn't have very many notes. Just I need the family tree of Everlane and Fisher here. I need their tree, and then I need more about her parents
Yep.
and are they really her parents? Who in her family's Fae? Like I need to know that. And then why are why is the sun and the moon twin sisters, two suns in Zavarian? Why is one not a moon? Why are they two suns?
I don't know.
So I need to know that one as well. Need to know, need to know. Otherwise, I don't have any other notes except for the few questions that we're still needing answers to.
Yep.
But thank you for watching or listening to this week's episode of Chapters Over Coffee, and join us next week for chapters 11 through 15.